Love, love, until I feel that breath of thy spirit flowing in me.
Hello, welcome to Spirit of Life. I'm Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Amy Hayashi. She's going to share her faith story. Welcome, Amy. It's great to have you in our program.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's great to be here.
Yeah, and you're an actor. You've done training in drama.
Yes, I have. Yeah, back in Vancouver, where I'm from. Mm-hmm.
So you were studying for 3 years?
I studied for 5 years, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a long time, but it was well worth it. It was very fun.
Mm-hmm. And now you're in Australia.
And now I'm in Australia.
Yeah, it's great to have you in Australia and share
your
your talent of theatre.
Yeah, thank you.
And share your faith story.
Yes, I'm very excited about it. Mm-hmm.
And so what was your early faith days?
Well, I grew up in a very Christian loving home, so I was always familiar with Jesus and God and who he was. And I remember when I was only 7 years old, I was in Sunday school with a bunch of other kids, and I remember the teacher sitting us all down and asking us, who wanted to accept Jesus into their heart. And I knew at that time that I wanted to, even though I was a child. I just sincerely and genuinely wanted Jesus in my life, so I accepted him into my heart. And it was great. And I was only 7, so I don't really remember.
Wow, that's
too
very
much,
sincere.
But yeah. So from there, I basically just grew up as a Christian girl, and I started going to Sunday school and youth group as I got older, and Christian summer camps and things like that. And those are a lot of fun, lots of singing and dancing and lots of worship and stuff. And I loved that. And then as I started to get older, I became a teenager, started to explore, all those things.
So you started to drift away?
Yeah, basically I started to drift away when I was maybe about 14 or so. I just began to kind of want to do things my own way, I guess.
So that was what made you drift away, like a bit of rebellion or trying to find yourself? Or?
Yeah, I was trying to find myself, and all teenagers are a little bit stubborn. They don't really want to do what their parents want them to do. So I was kind of clashing with my parents a bit, and I started a long-term relationship with a guy who wasn't a Christian, and we dated for actually 3 years in high school. And so during that time, I was basically starting to build walls between myself and God, and I was kind of blocking him out. I just didn't want to be committed to him at that time anymore, and so it was kind of sad, actually. So I just kind of started to drift away, and God wasn't in my life anymore, and I was starting to, lie to my parents and do things that I wouldn't normally do. And so throughout all of high school, it was like that until after high school, I began dating someone else, and he also wasn't a Christian, and things remained the same for me until after a couple years of this relationship. And finally, I started to feel convicted after I met a friend who was a strong Christian, and he basically started to speak to me about faith again and reminded me of what I was missing. So I began to kind of question what I was doing with myself.
Yes.
And what was going on.
Because you had that sadness.
Yeah, I was kind of feeling empty and feeling
what about your relationship with your parents? Was there sadness there too?
Yeah, there was definitely sadness there. There was some kind of, I wasn't as close with them as I wanted to be. I was just being, a rebellious teenager. So I felt like things could be better, and that God wanted me back. Like he wanted me to come back. And so, basically I one day, I just started to pray about it, and I started to, talk to my boyfriend about it at the time. And I was starting to realize, this is something really important to me. I want my faith to be number one in my life. And so I decided I wanted to pursue that. And so one day God clearly spoke to me, and he said I had to end this relationship because this person wasn't at the same place as I was. And so I basically had to end it. So it was very difficult for me. It was very hard, and I had to end this relationship, and I did. And after this, it was quite hard. It was quite sad, but it was very rewarding for me. I felt at ease and I felt at peace, and I knew it was the right thing.
Yeah, had courage.
I had courage. And then God started to come back into my life right away and break through. And I knew I wanted to recommit my life back to God. So I basically began to read my Bible again, and I decided that I wanted to get baptized. So I got baptized, and that was a really amazing day for me. I just felt so filled with the Holy Spirit, so filled with his living water, and I felt like I was seeing things with his eyes again, and I felt like a new person, and I felt so full of energy and life and vitality, and I was just ready to take on the world. So yeah.
What was the water when you say baptism? What does that mean to you?
Water, I think it means, like, baptism means to me completely turning your life around so that you are following Jesus with all of your heart, and your whole body, mind, and soul is all dedicated to that. So your soul and spirit is in sync with your body and your mind. So that's what baptism means to me, I guess. And yeah, just going full force into following Christ and not looking back. So at that point I was like, okay, I'm not looking back ever again. I'm going for it now.
Yes. Did you forgive yourself for like leading a different path to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was hard to leave my selfish ways because I thought I was happy, and I thought I was having fun, and I had a good life. I had a comfortable life, but yeah, that's really good. And I mean, your story. And we're going to go for a break now, and we'll be back in a few minutes. You're watching Spirit of Life. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned with us. Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Amy Hayashi. She's been sharing her faith story of how God really touched her life. Welcome back, Amy. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great that you came back to your faith in God, and you were saying you felt really fulfilled.
I did feel very fulfilled, yeah.
And then what sort of happened? I hear that there was some great happening that led you even closer to God.
Yes. After I came back to God, I began a very close relationship with him. And then actually just last year, I had something really terrible happen to me where I had a very rare infection in my left eye. And basically I woke up one morning and my left eye was super red and swollen and watery and very uncomfortable. And I had no idea what was going on. I had kind of blurry vision as well. And so I went to the doctors, and right away I had to see a few doctors, and they didn't know what it was, and it was really scary, but I thought it would go away, within a couple days or so. Yes. But basically, I saw some of the top cornea specialists in Vancouver, in British Columbia, and they basically looked at my eye and they thought that maybe it was a rare parasite called Acanthamoeba keratitis, which is a fancy name. But basically it's this small single-celled organism that lives on the cornea of your eye, and it eats away at the cornea of your eye.
Oh, wow. And did you have it? Did you actually have that disease?
I did have it, but they didn't know until 7 months later because it's such a slow-growing amoeba. Like, they multiply, but they're so slow-growing that it's very hard to diagnose and very hard to treat. So basically, for 7 months, I went through this really rough time where the amoebas would attack my eye, and it would get really sore and watery and red. And then this would last for about 5 days or so. And then for a few days, it would go back to looking normal as the amoebas went back into their protective shells.
I see.
So it would look okay, and then the doctors would think, oh, maybe it's going away, and then it would come back, and this happened for 7 months.
Pain? What about pain?
It was just very, very uncomfortable. It felt like something was in your eye all the time, and something was scraping against your eye. It was really, really uncomfortable. So basically, this continued, and my vision started to get worse and worse until it was getting blurry and cloudy, and my eye was starting to get this white haziness on it, and it looked like I had cataracts. Scary. It was really scary, and I was starting to actually go blind in my left eye, and it was terrifying. And I was like, I'm 22, like, how can this be happening to me? I can't believe I'm going blind in my left eye at 22. It was just so scary. So during this time, I had to just trust God, and I was praying all the time, and I was just, having to trust Him. And so finally what happened was the doctors took a sample of my eye 7 months later, again, when it got really bad, and they discovered that it was the amoebas. So they basically put me on these special eye drops that are toxic to try and kill these amoebas. Wow. So it was about 60 eye drops a day for a couple months to try and kill the amoebas, and they thought it was working, but it turned out that my eye was actually getting much worse, and it was getting even more painful. Wow. So what happened was, finally they looked at my eye after all this time, and they said, you know what, this is getting dangerous, and your vision is getting so bad, it's getting so scarred and so painful for you, and the amoebas are spreading, and they said you need a cornea transplant. And I found this out the day after my birthday, actually. And it was kind of like a birthday gift to me, because I was so fed up with this. I was so tired of it, and it had put me through so much pain, and I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. I was always at home with the lights off, holding tissues over my eye. It was so painful. So I was actually so ecstatic that I was getting a cornea transplant. It was like the best news of my life. So they put me first on a 6-month waiting list for this cornea. And actually, only a week later, they gave me a call, and they said, we have a cornea.
Wow,
and they said,
a week later.
It's from a very young person, and it's very clear and very good, in very good condition. So they basically said I had to get ready for the operation as soon as possible. So the next day, actually, they got me into the hospital, and I got the operation. And right away after this operation, the next day, I could already see so clearly. Like, I slowly opened my eyes, and I could see my fingers again, because when I had the blurry vision, I could barely see my fingers. They looked like fat sausages. So I could actually see my fingers again, and I remember saying to my mom, I can see my fingers, and I can see these people walking down the street. And right away, my vision started to improve so fast, and the doctors were amazed at how fast I was healing. And I just I give all credit to God for this, because He totally provided that cornea, and He wanted to give me a brand new eye, not just physical vision, but spiritual vision for me. So He totally got rid of that scarring and that haziness, and He gave me this clear new eye, and I'm so thankful. I still have stitches in my eye. So
that person, would they have had to have an accident to give them your eye? They
would have had to have passed away. Wow. So they were a very generous donor, and I'm so eternally grateful to them. Wow. Yeah. And so your faith pulled you through. So what were you praying every day? How did you cope? It was really tough. During days where it was painful, I would be in my room, I'd be praying, and I'd be the one thing that got me through was just worshiping Jesus every day. I would have to, just turn my focus to Him, and He would get me through it. And the more I worshiped Him, the more I felt at ease and at peace, comforted. And it was very difficult, but in the end it was so rewarding, and I could see God's promise come through, because He had promised during this pain that he would heal me, and he did.
And you kept to that belief.
Yeah, and during that time I was also trying to enhance my spiritual vision.
Yes.
So it's very cool that in the end my spiritual vision was improved, as well as my physical vision. So there's like a connection between the physical and spiritual realms.
That is a fantastic, amazing miracle.
Yeah.
We need to go for a break now, but thank you for that sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned with us. Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. I'm Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Amy Hayashi. She's been sharing her faith story and a miracle that happened in her life. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Welcome back to the program, and it was so inspiring, the story about how you got a healing in your eye.
Yeah, thank you.
Through getting the person who donated their eye to you.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, and I was very interested, to hear about how you endured through, suffering and, some, especially as a young person, a lot of people would sometimes give up on their faith when they're going through pain and all this. So did you have any doubts, because you were holding on to a miracle, but then were there doubts and things like that? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, this suffering lasted for about 7 months for me, which I know is kind of a long time, but at the same time, in the span of things, it's not a long time. But still, there were definitely moments there where I was very doubtful and very worried, very scared that I was going blind. I remember crying many times and being upset and worrying, am I going to go blind from this? And will my eye ever look the same again? I was very upset. And basically, I had a lot of love and support from people, which really helped. But during these times, I just found I had to cry out to God and ask Him to get me through it. And I had to persevere. And I found I just had to worship Jesus, even though that seems like the thing that you wouldn't be doing during that time. That actually gave me the most freedom.
And what's worship to you when you sing?
Well, I would sing.
Sing to God?
Yeah, sing in my room, sing to worship music or pray. Because really, I couldn't do much anyway.
Yes, because some people would start cursing God, but you instead worshipped Him and praised Him more.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
definitely
incredible.
There were times where I was upset with Him. I'd be like, why are you doing this to me? And how could you do this to me? That kind of thing. But in general, I tried to keep a positive attitude and to look. I guess a big thing for me was belief. I tried to truly believe that some healing was coming for me.
So you focused on
and
faith.
Faith and hope. Like, you have to focus on faith and hope, because that's what brings miracles and healing. You can't focus on what is wrong, because Jesus doesn't focus on that. He focuses on the healing and bringing life, right?
Yeah, it's true because I'm reading quite a few psychology books that say that if you focus on good, more good would come. If you focus on negative, and I suppose that reading, dwell your mind on what is pure, loving, and of God. As you dwell on it, you get more. But it is hard, and it's great you held on.
Yeah.
Yes, and is there something that you would like to share, that you would like to bring to the audience and to young people, some message?
Yeah, I guess I would just say to young people that I'd say that even though it doesn't seem like it and everyone else is going one way, going down this road that the world is going down, I'd say it's so much more worth it to pursue an intimate relationship with Jesus, just because it's the most rewarding thing that you could ever do. And it actually brings you more into your destiny and purpose. Even though you think that you yourself can do that on your own, you actually can't. Jesus is the one who, He brings all of these things to you. He puts these things into place. Once you follow Him, everything easily falls into place. So that's what I found as soon as I, turned my life back to Him. immediately things started to fall back into place. Opportunities came up, and testimony about my eye, so many things like miracles come, and
Yes.
yeah, and I want to say to people that God is still the miracle giver and healer, and he still is a personal loving God that he's always been.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why do you think young people struggle with, I mean, it's probably the judgment of adults, maybe older people, or maybe that young people today are selfish. Do you think it's true, and do you, and why are they selfish? Well, more than people in the past. That's what society seems to say today. What do you think?
Yes, I do think we're very selfish. I was like that, and I think young people today are quite selfish for sure, just because we have access and opportunity for so many things. We're spoiled in some ways, at least in North America we are. At least, well, I'm not in North America right now, I'm in Australia, but the Western culture,
Yes.
we're generally spoiled. So I think that we do tend to feel entitled and feel like we can do things our way and make our own decisions, and we have those opportunities and resources, so young people take hold of that, right? And so that's what most people end up doing as a young person. And I've met many people who say that during their teen years, they strayed away from God because, everyone is trying to make their own choices and
Yes.
do what they want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and do you think that if they followed their, selfishness, they'll get what they want?
No. It doesn't end up happening that way, even though you think it will.
Yes.
Yeah, because you want happiness, you want to feel at peace, and yeah, you'll end up pursuing things that are kind of empty, and young people like partying or doing things that just don't bring you any fulfillment. So it may seem fun at the time, but it's actually not life-giving.
Yeah, I suppose that reading that comes to me is that seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything will be added to you.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, putting God first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what do your family, feel about where you're going, and after you drifted away, are they happy with?
Oh yeah, my parents say to me all the time how they're so proud of, where I've come, and even though I had a different journey, they're still very happy with, the way that I followed Jesus and the way that I pursued him, and yeah, they're just very proud and very excited for what God's doing in my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you hope to have an acting career? That's your dream?
Hopefully.
Well, you're great on camera, and you're great with
you.
sharing, and it's been great having you in our program, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks a lot, Geraldine.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. Join us again next week. Goodbye, and God bless you.